So let's quickly talk about the offensive linemen before we make fun of the fact that Mark Emmert is going to step down and everybody will be better off when he does. So it does look like Evan Neal, Ickey Ekwonu, Charles Cross, who I'm not as in love with as I am the first two guys, are all like at least one of them, maybe two of them will be, well, I think certainly two of them. But I guess it's possible that all three might be available when the Panthers select at number 6. Who do you like there and why? Not necessarily for the Panthers, but in a vacuum, which of those three is the best in your eyes?
Ickey Ekwonu for versatility. Evan Neal feels like someone who you're planting them at tackle. They're going to be able to start at tackle forever. And I mean, wasn't Ekwonu all conference at 2 positions? I think that early in his career as a sophomore, he might have gotten a second or third team all conference nod at guard.
Okay, maybe.
Or also getting it at tackle. I think that you just have that opportunity with Ekwonu. If you are, again, we're putting ourselves back in the position of a general manager. You're asking me to make a high selection, someone who's going to be able to contribute. I'm always going to love the option of versatility because I think, like you, based on what you just said, Ekwonu and Neal are my top tier, and I do have Cross on a step down, though Charles Cross is very, 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 very good. I would have Ekwonu, Neal, Cross, 1, 2, 3 right there.
That's how I would rank them as well. And actually, I would be okay if Ekwonu and Neal are gone, if I were the Panthers, and I could trade back, because I think there are other options, even at tackle, that I don't think who's the kid from Northern Iowa that is probably going to be a mid to late first round pick.
Penning.
That you could get. Right. That you could get, maybe if you were able to trade back with either the Eagles or the Saints and get a pick, have your first pick be in the middle of the first round and pick up a second or an early third, because the Panthers need bodies. I don't think there's that big a difference between Cross and Penning. I just, from what I have seen and read, they seem to be relatively, similar players. Are there other guys in the middle of the first round at that position who are likely to be available?
Not on the outside of the line. I do think that when we start to talk about some of those interior offensive linemen, I mean, Tyler Lindenbaum's phenomenal. Like that is an excellent offensive lineman. Is Zion Johnson good? I think we're definitely working our way down the line a little bit right there. So there are like the offensive linemen in this draft and really the defensive linemen in this draft. It's excellent on both sides of the ball at the line of scrimmage. This is where you would get excited if you're all about the big uglies and winning at the line of scrimmage. That's all I would do is just get in there and I would just target all the offensive and defensive linemen that I like. On the defensive side of the ball, Devontae Wyatt hasn't even been mentioned. And that's another, part of that Georgia defense. Yes. He was a defensive tackle who would sometimes line up opposite of or beside Jordan Davis. I just think that you really can't go wrong. Put all the quarterbacks to the side. And, if I was given control of 5 teams and you were given control of 5 teams and we brought in a few other people for these, mock draft exercises, right, I would walk out with nothing but linemen, offensive and defensive linemen. That's all I would take. I would leave all the wide receivers to the side. I would leave all the quarterbacks to the side just because I think there's such a high caliber of player here at the top of the draft.
I want to go through this quickly because I want to spend at least 2 or 3 minutes on Mark Emmert. The wide receiver board seems to have gone completely bonkers now, where the number 1 wide receiver is now Jamison Williams. Now, maybe it's because before the injury, everybody thought Williams was the number 1 wide receiver available, but I don't even remember hearing it that way. I thought it was about Garrett Wilson of Ohio State or Drake London from Southern Cal because of his size and his ability to catch the ball, catch radius. I'm sorry, I have to say it that way. Or Chris Olave. But now we're back to Jamison Williams, who I loved until the injury. He hadn't started a ton, hadn't played a ton of football for Alabama, but that's sort of the curse of going through that program as a wide receiver, I guess. Is he the best wide receiver available?
I like Garrett Wilson because of just sort of the athleticism. I don't know if you've ever gotten a chance to go back and see him as a high school basketball player.
No.
But it was absolutely phenomenal. And of course we know that, Garrett Wilson's pedigree, like he is an athlete, right? It is in his DNA for him to be very, very good. I have liked him for a long, long time. I've thought that he was special. I just don't think he's not only the best of the wide receivers in this draft class. I think Garrett Wilson is a special football player, a special talent at the wide receiver position. I would take him before Olave. I would take him before Jameson Williams, though I am perfectly fine with either one of those. Drake London, by the way, also suffered an injury near the end of USC season.
Ankle injury, right? Yeah.
And look, I understand, when you fire the coach on September 13th, it's easy for us to check out on the rest of the season and miss all that you're able to accomplish down the line. But London is phenomenal. I think that I would be in the place where Wilson, I think, is special. And then we get to really ranking wide receivers. And then I would go London, Williams, and then Olave. Olave, such a great player within that system. But I do think that not that his numbers were benefited by the system, but that his understanding of what he needed to do allowed him to really expand his role. Garrett Wilson shows up, and as soon as he's on campus, we're like, whoa, we got to get that guy on the field a lot. Chris Olave made a jump from his sophomore to his junior year, which you say that's good about his work ethic. That's good about his desire and drive to improve himself and get more reps and be able to get a bigger role within the context of the offense. But also in terms of just sort of what you were working with for raw tools, he did have to overcome it just a little bit more.
So with the wide receiver position, would it be better for, this is not a Panther thing because I don't think they're going to draft a wide receiver, but for a team that might be interested to just take something else and then wait, because there have to be wide receivers, and I think we've seen this proven out over the last several years, because a lot of second-round pick wide receivers, even third-round pick wide receivers, have turned out to be just absolutely dominant players. Would it be better to say, this guy's great, but the guy I can get 48 picks later isn't that far different from this guy?
Without a doubt. If you get Treylon Burks from Arkansas in the second round,
they compared him to A.J. Brown.
Yeah, you're not getting a huge downgrade compared to the number 3 or the number 4 wide receiver. I mean, it is a phenomenal group, and also I think it's fun to watch the NFL now have the impact of seeing the way that the wide receiver position has taken over at the college level too, where if you have Devontae Smith, then that's all you need. Obviously, Jalen Waddle was out there until his injury, and John Mechie emerged over time. But I mean, Devontae Smith, after Waddle's injury, that's why he won the Heisman Trophy, because he was the entire passing attack for a national championship team. He was that kind of impact player at the position. If you've got better, it's why Ryan Day and Ohio State have decided that they're going to turn into a wide receiver factory, because they just think there aren't enough good defensive backs in college football for you to be able to guard all of these targets. And eventually one of my future NFL wide receivers is going to get matched up on your safety that's going to be doing like mutual insurance or something like coming up in about 6 or 7 years.
That's sort of the mindset behind why Baylor's offense under former coach Art Briles was so unstoppable. They knew that that no team had, good enough defensive backs to cover everybody. So
definitely not in the Big 12, which is without a doubt the 5th of the Power 5 conferences in terms of turning out NFL draft picks.
Final thing about this, Darryl Stingley Jr. or Sauce Gardner? Who you got?
Sauce Gardner. Stingley's awesome, but I think that what Ahmad Gardner did over a larger body of work. Because remember, Stingley had some injury issues he couldn't really impact. Then he also might have had some, shout out to those watching, injury issues that I think come along with just being a part of a tire fire LSU program, in the wake of that national championship when the hangover lasted a little bit too long. But
agreed.
Ahmad Gardner is I'll give him the nod. His body of work is larger and just as good.
And he has the greatest nickname. Sauce is the best nickname in the draft. All right. How do you sum up the career / damage done by Mark Emmert?
I don't think the damage was done by Mark Emmert. The damage was done by all of the university presidents and administration that emboldened him to be so against the idea of changing the approach to amateurism and to be so steadfast in trying to fight for a model which many outside forces, not just like fans or what people wanted to see, but just really powerful outside forces could tell you where this thing was headed. And he was empowered to go out there and be, very strong with his words and his opinions. And then all of a sudden you get beat 9-0 and everything reverses and he gets out of here. I'll tell you the thing that gets me about this is that he gets a retirement tour.
Right.
Listen, Jay Wright didn't take a retirement tour. All right. Roy Williams didn't take a retirement tour. How's Mark Emmert going to get out here and get a retirement tour? I hope he gets beat at home in his final home game too.
I just want to push back about this because I don't think he was strong with his words or his opinions. I think he's always been transparently weak with all of that. But I
was thinking mostly about amateurism.
No, I don't think he's been strong about any of that because he's always contradicted himself about everything and everything that he has said with regards to the way of the world of college athletics. Whether he hasn't been pushed on it or not, I think he has been. He simply has ignored, whether it's the questions or the issues. And if you are doing now, he didn't get Roger Goodell money. I can understand being a meat shield for $50 million a year or whatever it is Goodell makes. I could get that. But Emmert doesn't make that kind of cash. So to be in a position to defend what I believe to be the indefensible, which is the way they have treated college athletes, the money makers of a multi-billion-dollar industry, to me it shows no backbone at all because Mark Emmert could have gone into another area of whatever it is he wanted to do, academia, and probably made about as much money without embarrassing himself. Which means that he had no voice in that room, which means he should have gotten out of that room. And so I think that the PR damage to the NCAA is something that Mark Emmert will always live with.
You lay the NCAA's, because my confidence begins with like the Miami investigation, right? When the enforcement department begins to crumble, when universities begin to hire within the NCAA, and we've got that whole thing that happens in Washington where it's like, oh, you're in office, now you're a lobbyist. Now you're in office, now you're a lobbyist. And you're in private, now you're in public. Like the way that the NCAA was trying to at one point separate itself and be this powerful body while also being made up of all the same schools that it was supposedly trying to, enforce these rules against. I think that at that point I was like, this is all far too messy for this organization to have any real power because there's no real leadership.
I agree with that. But when it comes to the major issues that face the industry, if Emmert believed that the presidents were going down the wrong path, then he either bucks them, and if they decide we don't care what you say, and he leaves, or he endorses it. And he endorsed it because he kept fighting for it. But he fought for it in such a poor, transparent way. Well, we all knew it was garbage. So I just believe that if he had strong feelings, I don't think he had strong feelings either way. I just think, status quo, great. We'll always win in court because we have enough money. I don't know. The fact that they've lobbied Congress for as many years to keep, and I know our friend Bomani Jones uses the phrase to keep college kids broke. I think that's a little harsh, but I also don't think it's a lie. That I just think he's been a terrible representative, and I'm glad that college sports is where it is in spite of him.
I also think that it is another signal of the beginning of the end.
Yeah, I agree.
Like Jack Swarbrick comes out with his, wide-ranging Sports Illustrated where he targets the mid-2030s for, the ultimate total breakaway that, has kind of been on everyone's like sitting around.
Won't take that long. You and I've talked about this. It won't take that long. It will not take that long. I 5 years. We are 5 years away from a complete, utter reorganization of football. It's not
and
about
honestly,
not
we
about
need
the
to
other
get
sports.
like everybody out then. Like if we are going to totally rethink this, then let's start fresh. Let's bring everybody to the table. Let's not try and hold on to anything from the previous college athletics world. Let's figure out what's going to work best for all parties involved. And when I say all parties, I want to bring the athletes to the table in ways they weren't before.
No question. You're the man. Congratulations again on the newbie, and we will talk to you very soon, Chip Patterson.
Sounds good. Y'all be well.
He's the best.